Viruses have always been an ally of evolution. Over 4 billion years they have afforded horizontal genetic transfer and thus bringing by genetic diversity across bacteria. At the same time, it appears that it is human disruptive agency upon ecosystems which underlies the outbreak of pandemics, as viruses are set free in search for new hosts. In view of this and of the current situation in which we see how increasing and unprecedented measures of surveillance and confinement are intensified, measures which in some cases were already going on as humanity was crossing a threshold as a whole towards an algorithmic model of governmentality. It seems like the pandemic is accelerating or could accelerate this process. What could one do in such a situation when bodies are increasingly immobile, clicking on screens from their ubiquitous mobile prisons of the devices, but also the home as a prison and happening at a planetary scale? Something that was already going on in the Facebook model of sociality, and where now, in fact, technology corporations are profiting enormously from this intensified situation of subjection to these technologies. I propose at least a threefold response to this situation within a pluralistic scenario. First of all, we should put red lines and avoid abuses of surveillance and confinement as well. It is not justifiable that unprecedented new modes of digital surveillance are implanted for the sake of health systems. There are various ways of dealing with health, and there will have to be a balance between health and fundamental freedoms, considering also that whatever measures are now undertaken are very unlikely to be rewinded, so they will probably stay. Secondly, we need to urgently look into this fact that disruptive human agency may be unleashing pandemics, which of course connects to a variety of hugely important issues like the climate change and many others, which means there needs to be an urgent systemic shift. Not that I expect that this is going to be discussed seriously by the powers to be, or the powers at stake, since the interests in increasing social control are enormous instead. So how can we, and this is my third proposal, fight a situation or resist from the body, through the body, especially now during the quarantine as we are confined and touching ground? How can we somehow resist and reinvent ourselves in such a situation? Well, first of all, what I want to propose is that there is an incredibly powerful tool at the reach of everyone in our movement, even for people who can hardly move. The body is an endless field of movement possibilities which we hardly ever explore. It's a swarm of 360 joints with a self-organizing and endless capacity to vary its own motion, which can be felt directly through proprioception when we feel the actual internal movement of the body. But this is also the way in which we feel the world, through our own movement, and we readjust ourselves creatively with the world. So I suggest that one powerful tool yet to elaborate in this new situation of ubiquitous global prisons is to unfold this capacity for new qualitative variations of our movement that bring back a lost plasticity, lost throughout millennia of increasing geometric alignments, of increasing technological alignments, that especially since linear perspectives have induced an incredible, unprecedented atrophy in our bodies. How we move is how we think, how we feel, how we relate and create the worlds. The more narrow our movements, the more narrow our worlds. The more plastic our movements, the more plastic our thoughts, affects, and so forth. So I suggest to use the quarantines and then forever afterwards to develop an unprecedented plasticity in our bodies through precisely seeking recourse to this wonderful heritage from 4 billion years of bacterial and viral evolution, this self-organizing swarming complexity that we have in the body. So resisting and questioning abuses in surveillance, looking into the systemic problems underlying pandemics and many other things, and swarming with our movements against the reductive thrust to reducing our complexity are 3 suggestions I bring to the debate and the pragmatics of what to do in the pandemic and how to make of this virus also an ally.